Okay, activators. Welcome back to season 2, episode 2 of Activated Talks. And today, guys. We're gonna talk about a specific topic that's really interesting. And let's go.
Education.
Exactly.
The education system, that's the topic today that we are going to be discussing. We have seen the recent AS level results that were released at the beginning of the year, was it?
Yeah, it was in the beginning of this year.
Yeah, the performance was terrible. That was like a terrible performance. So we want to find out and to scrutinize regarding this whole education system thing. Is it working for us? Is it working for the country? Is it working for the students, for the youth, for everyone, for the employment of the country, etc., etc.? So that's what's on the agenda today.
That one is actually, it's a nice agenda, bro.
Yeah, most definitely. Actually, to put it out there, we just want to say the views of Activated Talks remains the views of Activated Talks only. We do not want to say these are the views out there in the public population. We want to also just enlighten the people per se that we have a guest. I believe Brendon would want to introduce who our guest for today's topic is, so that we can give it to the people. To say the activators.
For this today's case, it's not around because he's out of town, and however we managed to reach out to him and managed to arrange a call-in interview. So it's the director of Ministry of Education, Culture, and Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, Mr. Fenwell Kabapero.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Ministry of Education, Kavango East.
Interesting.
Yeah, so let's just give him a quick call, and then we just try to find out what we really want to find out and teach our activators.
Okay.
First call in on the podcast.
Exactly.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, it is.
Somewhere, man.
Let's just hear and see what views we can get. I think the education system is quite something that needs to be talked about. I don't hear so much society speaking about the education system within that regards, of course. I don't know, is there some sort of fear? Is there some sort of misunderstanding or,
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's the lack of willingness to participate, in the general discourse that is existing in the public. I mean, the education system, especially the policy around education, these are vital things to discuss and to scrutinize as a population. So
most definitely. Oh, okay.
Just try calling.
Kitchen point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's try.
It's ringing.
just waiting to hear from our guest.
Definitely. Hopefully he picks up.
It's a little bit low. Can you not try to add the volume? Still ringing.
Yeah, it is.
The subscriber you have dialed
Wow.
is answering. Please try again later.
Okay. I guess we can still get back to the guest. As we go on, I want to sort of put it out there on a clear to say the Namibian, or let me say African society, is there per se a structure in place that is solemnly, designed by the African leaders or the African academics per se? This is the route we are going to follow in terms of creating a system in place that best answers to the problem of the African child.
Wow. What a perfectly formulated question. Yeah, that's a good one. What I picked up is the education system adjusted to suit the reality of the African child? Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah. What are your views? What do you think? What do you think that can be?
Personally, I would say that our education system is leaning toward the Western side. So to say that it's leaning toward the side of the African child, I would not say 100%, although I believe there is certain proportions, that are leaning toward the African child to accommodate the African child, but most of it is leaning toward the side of the Westerners. I would say.
Very interesting. Yeah, towards my own understanding, or per se, I would say the education system is a system in place that helps you understand yourself as you develop through your academic journey, or it's the system which we currently engage with, or the system which we currently use is a system. Okay, these are my own views. I don't want to be misquoted, or I stand to be corrected. I feel like the practical aspect of the current education system is more theoretical. I mean, theoretical, of course. It is practical, but still remains theoretical. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you are making sense.
Yes, like let me give you an example of maybe a physical science experiment. You want to find out maybe starch, if starch is present in a certain food substance. You understand? The only thing you do is you go to a lab. You start to use test tubes and all that. You understand? But are they per se practical aspects per se?
You are involved from the start. Okay, the phone is still ringing. Let's just hear one more time.
Yeah, hopefully our guest will pick up. But while we wait for the pickup,
just keep on.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that if as a child, or as a learner is trained from the get-go,
yes,
the person wants to be a dentist, or let me say a scientist.
Just from the get-go, you instill that particular ideology in their mind. They start to grow with that cognitive understanding per se, that as they grow, they're going to be scientists or they're going to be dentists.
True.
And with that practicality as they go, they tend to develop that love and that passion for that particular job which they are looking forward to. But with this current education system which is in place, it sort of leave us in suspense per se.
Yes.
You just study, and then as time goes, you reach a certain point where you feel like you don't know what you are doing.
Yeah, I think that's a question of infrastructure, because we have an education policy, right? And infrastructure is, of course, an integral part in making sure that the education policy, is reached. So if you include science and research in the education system, as part of the curriculum, but the infrastructure is not there for the learners and students to practice science practically with their hands, not just theoretically, like it's the case now in most schools. And I've seen it. There's a lack of infrastructure in a lot of schools, starting from primary schools to high schools. I've seen how during certain exams, some high schools would have to travel to other high schools to do their practicals, whether it's a natural science or a physical science exams or an agricultural exams, and they need to do practicals. That particular school does not have a science lab, so they have to travel to another school. So are we being realistic in terms of really expecting results from the education system if the infrastructure, first of all, is not in place to get results from the education policy?
It becomes problematic. Yeah, we have identified, or in terms of the society or the surrounding, we have noticed that the boy child has certainly lagged behind in terms of academic performances. With the education system which is in place, Brendon, would you perhaps maybe give an intel per se? Why do you think the boy child is not doing such a positive performance in regards to academics?
Okay, before I answer your question, let me just notify the activators that our guest not making, because he has an agent matter to solve, and we'll try to get him again next time.
Oh, that's unfortunate. We're just celebrating now. First call
okay,
is
we actually just say that we will have to get him next time.
Okay.
It's a guarantee. So don't worry, activators, Mr. Kapelo, we'll have him next time, and you guys will get to hear from him.
Okay, awesome. Can you just repeat? Yeah, no, my question is actually, based on gender. Let's say it is the boy child. I've recently, stumbled across a video on the University of Namibia's Facebook page, where they were speaking about, the boy child and the underperformance of the boy child in academics in these modern or recent years. Maybe you can give us, a brief explanation as to say why is such a an act happening to say that the boy child is being left behind?
Okay, according to
Compare
my,
with the education system, of course.
okay, according to my perspective, the reason why I see the boy child isn't performing well academically is because we have so much. The boy child is so much. I'm saying me because I've also been there. I was a boy once, and I've been in high school, and I'm just giving my experiences. The reason why a boy child doesn't really perform well academically is because we have so much. Like it's a barrier that was given to us, whereby we have to be a lot of things has to be have to be expected on us, such as taking care of families. Let me say in this era, most boys grow up in households where there's only a single mom and the father figure is absent. Check. So the boy child has to be responsible in ways of protecting the house, taking care of the house, and also providing for the family. Check. So in that case, sometimes it might also release them from really performing well academically.
Yeah.
Check. And then sometimes also we get friends that are really so bad influence. They get us to participate in activities that are not suitable for us, such as drinking alcohol, and the most that's trending is smoking marijuana and all that. Yeah, and basically that's really it.
Yeah, I think those are fair contributions, which are true, of course. But I also think that there is no incentive that is pushing, let me say, the boy child to want to go to school. There's no excitement to want to go to school. Is the education policy including such aspects to say that how can we incentivize the need to go to school, right? And again, it comes back again to the question of infrastructure, sports facilities in schools, other
Just to keep
activities.
them busy.
Yeah, other activities that they can partake in at schools.
Exactly.
Does the policy advocate or include that as well?
Yeah, no, definitely. Speaking of, going to school and having something to, look up to, or per se you're passionate about, or having a reason to say, this is the reason why I'm going to school. Do you think that the education system does justice towards the creatives, the creative domain of the population? Let's say the musicians, the artists, people that are into painting, people that are into crafting. Does the current education system lean a positive arm on that particular area, or is it that they are solemnly disadvantaged? What do you have to say about that?
Definitely not. And if so, it's to a very small extent, because first of all, we have arts in schools, but I think it only ends in primary school, if I'm not mistaken.
It does end in primary school,
Exactly.
and then in high school.
In high
have
school,
modules such as design and technology, where we
that's only at some schools,
Oh yeah, only some schools.
and most probably in urban areas only.
Yeah, and
Not
also
in-
I think it's a specialization. Like you need to specialize.
Yeah, you need to
in that
specialize.
particular area.
Yeah, but to say that a kid is mostly interested in, let me say, carpentry or plumbing from a young age, or working with electricity, the education system does not accommodate them in that sense to kind of mold, that particular set of skills, and to sculpt it in a way that it would, enhance as they grow up, and they can then, upon completing their school, embark on a career in that direction. It does not provide for that.
Most definitely. I was thinking maybe we do one more call. I don't know if this is going to go through. Let's try to call.
We really need guests in order for us to get factual and concrete
exactly.
information
Exactly.
towards the story, because So what we do is
Okay, just a moment. We have Choolwe, who's the UNAM Radio Manager. Yes, Mr. Choolwe, how are you doing?
Good, Martin. How are you?
I am doing very well. I'm not sure if you're quite close to your phone. We can't correctly hear your voice.
Okay. How about now?
Still? Okay.
Still bad. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear correctly?
Now?
We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
How about now?
Still?
Can you get me?
Say something?
Yes, can you get me?
Yes, I can get you now. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yes, Choolwe. Being for so long not really so long, but quite some time with the UNAM Radio, what do you have to say about the education system at the university, or maybe at any other, level of education in Africa per se?
Okay, so we'll stick to Namibia because I'm passionate about what's happening here, and I think from where you stand. So I can only give an interpretation of where I am right now, and from what I've seen, that 38,000 students applying for exams and only 5,000 making it wasn't right. So definitely something is wrong in the system, and that needs to be right.
Okay. Now we hear you, but we were also just discussing about how the system helps, or does it have a domain? The education system, does it have a domain where it helps the creatives? Let's say the artists, the people who are into crafting. You may be designing or something that is just part of creativity. What do you think about the education system? Does it lean towards? Does it lean its advantage arm on it, or is it solemnly disadvantaged?
So right now we are currently disadvantaged, to be honest. And education system, if you compare to the Western education system, that education system is more practical. So you find, say, 13 years old doing practicals in how to be a miner. Okay.
Yeah.
And these kids are preparing to come and run the African mines.
Interesting.
Africans to prepare our students to run the industries in Africa.
Thank you so much.
That's where the education system is failing, because it's not being practical.
Thank you so much, Choolwe. Nice hearing from you today. Your input. Hopefully, the activators will thank you within that regards, of course.
Thank you very much for having.
It was nice having you. Thank you. Right, activators. That was Choolwe, the UNAM Radio's manager for about 2 years now.
Quite a long
2 years,
time.
Quite a long time. Now back to the education system. I want to just also get an angle from Brendon. The education system, like Martin has stipulated, that it is of a larger extent to leaning towards the Western ideology, or per se the Western ways of doing things. Now, if I bring it to your attention, do you think the African education system is in pair with maintaining the African child's norms and beliefs as an African child?
With that, I can say that yes, the education system really focuses on that area, because we have subjects such as I'm talking about high school now. Subjects such as history, where they teach us about our history, what our ancestors did, what our heroes did, and all that, the histories of the country and what happened during apartheid. Without those specific subjects, we don't really know what really happened back then. And with that, we also have subjects such as subjects that are in Benek. Say we have
most schools in rural areas, they do incorporate vernacular or the mother tongue.
Yeah, so that also makes us get close to our norms and all that. And as I was also explaining, the cash flow game, that one is a westernized system, whereby they actually teach the students by letting them play games. They play games while learning. So they focus on accounting and entrepreneurship, if I'm not mistaken. And then what they do during exams is that the students play the games in groups, and then they compete with other groups.
I saw
just hold on, before, and then rather than the teacher grading the students grade the teacher.
Wow.
And if the teacher gets low grades, the teacher is sent back to training or any other.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how it's
interesting. Imagine being a teacher after
And
all
yeah, and
this
the
training.
education system is really more on theories than practicals. That's why we really have to be in school for like back then it was 12 years. And then in theories, you just have theories for 12 years, and then after that, you graduate from high school and get to higher institutions, and then you still have theories. And then the education system is it also focuses on making us to be job seekers rather than job creators. So that's why we have really so many unemployed youth or unemployed graduates that are looking for employment rather than finding solution that they can give to the government to like also provide let's say capital for themselves, their own business. I know there was SME Bank, but it's closed.
Interesting.
No, I wanted to say that I saw an interesting picture online. The picture consisted of two parts: an African child and a Chinese child. Now the African child was studying a grasshopper.
Oh, wow.
Was looking at a drawing of a grasshopper, and the Chinese child is doing some robotic stuff, some studying the parts of a helicopter.
Exactly.
These are minors. So you can just imagine how, in terms of practicals, the practical side of education is not really incorporated. And I don't think theory can even stick into your mind long enough if you are not practicing it. So we have this problem of if the person does not have practical skills, let me say in science, but they have the theoretical skills, how can they start, let me say, a science lab, for example, if they never practiced it and the only chance they got to practice was maybe at a tertiary institution, and even tertiary institutions are very limited with regard to practical facilities in the country. So that's the problem that we have.
It's very concerning. But with these concerns which we have just raised now, do you guys believe it is normally just as that see this problem, or is it that these problems are there, we just don't know the means and ways to sort of go around them, or is it ignorance? What do you guys think? Or maybe this is a question we can keep for somebody who has to come in now.
Yeah, this is actually a question that people who are in the education system should explain to us. However, I read this other article in the Namibian newspaper about the Minister of Education, Arts and Culture. She actually said that the core business of the ministry is to teach and learn. Therefore, she was just emphasizing on the results that came out this year, whereby these results were way worse than the results of the 2021 academic year, because that one was also they studied the system, not the system, but the strategies of teaching change because of the COVID-19 pandemic, whereby they had to have online classes and all that. But then those kids that were in that that performed well in that academic year really did so well that they outperformed the ones that wrote exams last year.
No, personally, I'm not impressed with people who are performing good in school, but on the practical side, they are lacking. Look, what is the use of, for 12 years, you are receiving practical knowledge in agriculture, but in your primary school, there was never a space allocated to agriculture practicals. In your high school, there was never a space allocated to agriculture practicals. It doesn't make sense for let me say, a government or a state that wants to train and nurture a strong workforce, which is a skilled and strong workforce. And that's why you see that we are lacking in that case, in a sense. If you look at the high unemployment rate, for example, and you look at the requirements for most job positions, but coming back to your question, there's a lot of stakeholders in education. We are also stakeholders as students. If you look at lower education, parents are stakeholders in that regard. We have private sector, which is also a huge stakeholder. So if all these people can come together and analyze the policies, the policy on education.
I think parents and caregivers should also be included in those,
Definitely.
in the planning of strategies.
Yeah, definitely.
They should be called to these meetings and these scrutinizing discussions.
Exactly. There has to be an effective solution. All in all, what I have picked up is mostly the practical aspect of the education system is not there, or if it's there, it's not entirely enforced. So we need it to really be seen, or we need it to, be tabled. Per se, let us have means and ways to incorporate the practical, aspects of the education system.
And the way I see it, the education system is still the key, or education is still the key to success.
Education is the key.
However,
it's the key.
it's just the system that has to be changed a little bit from theories to practicals, and also from training us to be job seekers.
I think
We are the job
practical.
creators. Because from the moment a kid gets taught to run a business, or even gets taught how to manage money, I think that's how we're gonna make these things to be effective. Because once you're a little kid, you already know how to use money and all that. Why, let me say, petty cash, how to use, accounting, we only get to learn it in high school. But you start to do it. That's how it was back then. I'm actually not familiar with the new system. That's why I'm using the old system, because I was part of that one and I'm not part of this new system. So I think accounting should also be taught in primary, because as for me, I did accounting, but then I was really not good in that. Because it was just too many theories and not practical. I think we should also start sending kids to the how should I say, the organizations that are already working towards those specific subjects. Let's say if
those industries.
the same way they do it with us, you're sending us for internships. They should just start down there. Like the kids who are in the commerce field, they should be going to banks and see how things work. Things who are in the science department, they should be going to science labs and see how things really work there, rather than just going through textbooks and just summaries after summaries, going to lessons. I actually can't remember my lessons in high school, most of my lessons in high school.
Yeah. Well,
but I do remember the games I played back then.
because it was practical.
It's a pity that our guests could not make it, but we had the discussion either ways, because we need to kickstart this discussion and move to a direction where policies are realigned and redrafted, and we can get somewhere. So
with that being said, activators, I think we have come to the end of this episode on education. I'm sure this is a very diverse subject through which we need direct input from somebody who's directly involved with this system, who put their input for this system to be in place. So all in all, activators, kindly drop your comments in the comment section.
What do you think about the
education system? Tell us more. Maybe we can learn a thing or two from you, not just us giving it the other way around.
And with regards to this, we already spoke about the WhatsApp group that we created. There are some people who don't like commenting. So if you don't like commenting, just send us an email or join the WhatsApp group. The link will also be dropped in the description. So just join the WhatsApp group so we can just discuss everything about such situation. If we could discuss about this with you all, then this conversation would have been more effective and things would have been better.
Right, with that, we are out. Thank you guys. Sharp.